which comes as a manager. So what does manager do? So obviously manager tries to achieve the organizational goals, as I was saying before. So it is the leadership skills that come in so that they encourage others to make sure that we achieving organization goals. How do we do that? We actually arrange for others to do the task. So others, we encourage, we promote, we motivate others to do the task, whereas not really that he or she is doing the task. So we get the task done by others to achieve the organization goals. It's another part of management definition. Okay, now usually like there is one or two definitions. For here we did not come to one consensus for a definition. Okay, so all existing, there were a lot of definitions which are moving and changing, and then there is one definition which has been mostly acceptable, and that definition is management is a process of planning, organizing, leading and controlling the efforts of an organization members and using all other organization resources to achieve the stated organization goals. Let's go back and do it again. So management is a process of planning, organizing, leading and controlling. We already discussed that. And efforts of organization members. So all those people who are working for the organization, and any other resources that they are available to achieve the stated goals. A goal could be having 100 tourists going to a particular destination, or having 100 guests filling the hotel that particular day or night, or selling 50 tour packages, or developing new package. So all could be anything, could be that. Okay. Now, a process. So the process is actually a systematic way of doing things. So, and you're doing the same, isn't it? Management is also doing the same thing, isn't it? Hence, management is a process because the activities of, they all are linked: planning, leading, organization and control. So they're interrelated, right? So it's a process, and it's actually called continuous process. It keeps on going. Let's say you did one task and you made a one package and you send people and you realize and you got some feedback, right? Now because you got feedback, you want to improve upon, then you plan again. Okay, last time I had 20 customers complaining of particular hotel. This time I may change. I may not send my customer to that particular hotel, right? Or to the particular destination, which is a tour agency. That particular guide is actually not able to what's it called, satisfy the customer requirements or request. He is not able to communicate well, so maybe I need to give them training or whatever it is. So this is actually a process itself because it keeps on going. So management is actually a process. Okay, now manager, the person who is responsible for the operation of the show, is a manager, right? So what I do, manager does is actually uses the resources available in an organization. So I still remember we used to call it M for money, M for men, and for manpower or men, M for what's it called, machinery. So it's like they use the resources like M's, we used to call M. So like finances, money, equipment, machinery, information, technology, and people. Okay, so they use all. Why? Because they want to achieve the stated goal. Now every organization, they will have their own goals, right? Because they may have objectives and let's say management goals, and obviously they will need to use the whole team to achieve that goals, right? Now a goal of an organization who is working in healthcare will be different to a goal of organization who is working in tourism or in hospitality or in engineering. But they all have one common thing, that they have particular organization goals and they use the resources they have within the organization to achieve those, right? Okay. Now George A. Terry and Stephen G. Franklin, they actually they gave a certain key characteristics that could be useful, or that is useful for to understand the management. So let's look at the characteristics given by George N. Terry and Stephen G. Franklin for understanding management. So let's start with the first thing. Number A, it says management is purposeful. Purposeful. That means, what is purpose? What exactly are you getting out of it? Because it deals with achievement of something. And when you say achievement of something, that means an objective or a goal. So in management, you have some objectives, as I said, organization objectives to you want to do. So management is done to achieve an objective or a goal. Now, how do we measure the success? So you measure the success either, by looking at, how much have you achieved those goals. Let's say, for the example over here, if I want to send, let's say, I want to sell my tourist package from India to, let's say, I mean, that's more at this stage. This is COVID, so I'm wondering, where do I send? Let's do the domestic tourism. Let's say I want to send some tourists from Delhi to Jammu. Yeah, so we have new train which is going in 6 hours and reaching Jammu in 6 hours. So let's develop a package that to send people to Jammu and maybe Kashmir. Now, how much? I want to send, let's say, 50 tour packages of 20 group of 20 each. So 15 to 20 is how much? 1,000. So I want to send 1,000 people in this coming summers, which is coming. Okay. Now, management will be arranging all those manpower, machinery, resources, internet information, all those things involving and sending those people over there. If you are able to achieve this goal of sending those, 50 group of 50 package or group of 20 each, which is making 1,000 of your tourists, you achieve your goals. But if you're not able to do 50, you are not able to achieve the goals. That's where the success and see what did go wrong. So you'll see, okay, fair enough. So that was where you look at it, and you find out, oh, where did I go wrong? Why could I not make it 50? And if you made, instead of 50, if you make 60, you say, oh, where did I do well? You understand? Both ways. So you learn both ways. If I didn't do, okay, what did I not do? If you did, you do well, what did I do well? So both things will be considered, and that's where you look at it. Okay, now the second one was the management makes things happen. What do you mean by that? Management makes things happen. Yes. So I'm not too sure if you would have done any work anywhere, but imagine if you had your unit test in the school, right? So when you had your unit test, before unit test, you will go and study this, make sure you go back and study your notes you have taken in the class or homework you have done so that you're ready for the next test, right? And this test is actually, it's something, it's forcing you to study and go back and find out, right? Now, similar way in a management, we look at it. We look at, because the managers focus on the attention and efforts are bringing about a successful action. What does it mean is that managers, they work together with the team and they want to have a reaction, or they bring the due efforts to involve every team members so that there is something result or output that's coming out or successful action is coming out. For that matter, if I say, so you will, as a team leader, as a manager, will involve your team members. One will find out the rates, other person may find out what is happening in terms of rules and regulations in Jammu Kashmir when you want to send people to Jammu Kashmir now. What will be the weather, how much is the airline, which all local travel agents are supporting you, which train tickets will be you taking, how will you get the bookings done, which hotel and accommodation they'll be staying, who will be taking taxi, for local taxi. There's so many things, isn't it? So a manager will focus on efforts, what all things will be done together so that there is a successful outcome, right? Now, obviously, as I was telling you, the package, so manager will delegate the duties to who will do what and how, what are the actions will be, and you add all those actions and you will have a successful results coming out. Now, management is actually an activity. It is not it's not a group or a person. So manage is an action, an activity. That means, you know, it's like a swimming. Swimming is an activity, right? Swimming is not a person. Similarly, management is an activity. Management is not a person who's a manager. It is not a management. Management is actions that work together to achieve some goals. Okay. Now, people who actually do this activity, they call managers. That means activity of planning, organizing, yeah, uh, coordinating and controlling. So these are called managers, because or they could be executive, they could be leaders, or the members of management committee or whatnot. So what they do the all do the basic same concepts, that they plan, they organize, they coordinate, and then they look at their actions, if my actions are okay. Now, management is actually an activity which is distinct. That means this is different. How? That it actually can be studied. Yes, you can study management. Yes, you can. And knowledge about how it can be obtained. So you can obtain knowledge about management. And certainly, you actually, there are certain skills that can be acquired, the skills that can be applicable. Skills like planning. What are different skills in planning? How do I plan? What is my, uh, steps involved in planning? So in planning, you may have checklists. Do I need to do this, A, B, C? And then in terms of coordinating anyone, how will I delegate the task? Whom will I delegate the task? When will I delegate the task? How much will I delegate the task or the work to the person? So it's again, skills can be acquired. You can study that and you can use that while doing management. Now, it is important to understand that there is a tendency to perform all the things yourself, in terms of you should be able to get those tasks accomplished or completed through the efforts of the group members. That means you are, as a manager, you have the onus or responsibility to make sure that your team is working together to achieve the goal and to get the task done out of them. So always remember, it is easy to say, hey, you do this work, you do that work, and you delegate the work. But more so, it is also important to understand who can do what, right? Who has the capacity, who has the right skill. Okay, I'll put an example here. There are two boys. One boy is very good in fast sprint. He can do very fast and can quickly go and come. Very good in 100 meters race. And there's the other person who's not good at 100-meter race, but he's very good at long races, 800, 400, maybe 800 or maybe 1600, right? Now, when there's an athletic game, would you send 100-meter for 800? No, you would not, isn't it? You would know who is good at 100 and who is good at 800. So we'll put the right person right place, right? Similarly, if you have to give a task, the person who's good in communication, you will put the person in the front so that they can talk to the customers and get the deal done, right? But if the other person is good at computers but not so good in communication, you'll put him on the computer. So exactly that. So very simple, that you make sure as a manager you get the right person, get the group to do work in a team, so that you get the results or the goals of the organization. Now, obviously, as I said, that it is very important to have the results, and you can see the management efforts coming out from the results. So let's move on further from here, and let's look at the levels and the skills in terms of management. So we just discussed about the term manager. So manager is a person who is responsible for carrying out management functions. And what are four functions? Come on. Planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. So manager is the person who carries out these four functions, obviously using his team members, right? Now, obviously, there's another function that managers does. He actually is responsible for his subordinates. Yes, subordinates, people who are working under his supervision and organizing resources. What do you mean by organizing resources? Let's say that, as I was saying, the same package example from Delhi to Jammu. So let's say if one of his team members is very good in computing, he can get all the information from the computers and get the things done, send an email, whatnot. But the internet is not working. So who's responsible? manager is responsible to make sure that his team member has the internet so that he can get the work done. So that is organizing resources. Okay, now, or at the time, if the team member does not know anything, so the manager's responsibility is to let the team member know what things are, how things work, and whatnot. Now, there are different types of managers in terms of responsibilities, the tasks that they perform. So let's take some examples